Good morning, everybody. Happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers and grandmothers, anyone out there who's a mother to someone or a pet. I hope everyone enjoyed the delicious Mother's Day breakfast hosted by the Junior YBA. Thank you, Junior YBA. We will now begin with silent meditation.
Kansho, like a caring mother holding and guarding the life of her only child, so with a boundless heart of loving kindness, hold yourself and all beings as your beloved children. From Sayings of the Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. You can open your service book to page 35, and we will do Jusei-ge. Ga gon cho se gan hi shi mu jo do shi gan fu man zok se fu jo sho gak ga o mu ro ko fu i dai se shu fu sai sho bin gu se fu jo sho gak ga shi jo buten do myo sho cho ji po ku kyo mi sho mon se fu jo sho gak ryoku jin shonen jo e shu bon gyo shi gu mu jo do i sho ten nin shi jin riki en dai ko fu sho mu sai do sho jo san ku myo ko sai shu yaku nan kai hi chi again me shi komo an hei soku sho aku do tsu daten zen shu mon ko so jo man zok i yo ro ji po nichi gaten shu ju ki ten ko om pu gen i shu kai ho zo ko se ku doku ho jo o dai shu chu seppo shi shi ku ku yo i sai bu gu soku shu toku hon gane shin jo man Tokui sangayo nyobuten mugechi tsudaten mi fusho gangaku eri toshi sai shosom shiganya koka daisen okando koku shotenin to uchin myoke namandabu 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 Ganishikudoku Byodo Seisai Dohoden Bodaishin Ojo an ra ko. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Please stand and join me in the recitation of our pledge, which can be found on the insert in the service book. Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. You may be seated. Now, Mr. Bill Teague will share a Dharma School message with us.
Thank you, Lisa. Very happy to see you here today. Please join me in Kansho. We'll put our hands together and recite the Buddha's name. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandap, Namandap. Well, I don't have any special reading to start the Dharma talk, except to say Happy Mother's Day. We wish Happy Mother's Day to all mothers, to your mother in particular, to your mother's mother, to all mothers throughout space and time, even to those of us who aren't mothers but have a mother. This is a special day to help us remember. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about my mom. most of you, I don't think, knew my parents, but some of the older members, not kids like me in my middle 70s, but some of the real adults at the temple in their 80s, 90s, and even 100 may remember. They would come to some of the services, and they always told me how happy they were that Joyce and I had found this place, and they always felt welcome. So I hope you feel welcome here today, too. My mom's name was Betty Ann Harvey Teague, born Betty Ann Harvey in 1923 in Mason City, Iowa. Now, just so you realize how historic that is, not just the fact that it's 100 years ago, but her father was a cattleman. It's not part of Mother's Day, but my father's father made wooden ships. So it's the Industrial Revolution already, and the ships used steam power or other engines, but it was still cheapest at that time to build them out of wood. He was a master carpenter in a little town called Cosmopolis, Washington. So that was quite a while ago. My mother's father and his wife were a little older than many parents. Her father was 36, her mother was 34. And that was the family that my mom was born into. So at this time, I need to ask something because I'm going to need help from the Dharma School students. So all of the Dharma School students, could I please ask you to come forward? I see some back in the foyer. It'll be so nice to see you all in a row here. Go ahead and have a seat. Please. Thank you so much. That's so nice of you guys. Okay, so now I'm gonna ask you to do something, but it's real easy and it's not embarrassing. I know sometimes I ask you to do crazy stuff. So could you all in the front row please stand and then turn around. And if your mom's in the audience, please wave to them. Isn't that nice? And Mateo, you can wave to your mom over here. So please have a seat. Mother's Day is when we get a chance to wave to our moms and be reminded how nice it is to see them there. It's good to be reminded, too, that your moms started off as kids with their own moms and back through the generations. And I hate to say it, but when your parents got together, they probably were kids too, just about. Quite a circumstance to find ourselves here, being able to remember our moms and appreciate them. Now I know it's not always 100% that your mom was loving and kind. I'm hoping for all of you that's the case. But human beings are human beings. So some of you may have had a difficult relationship, and I'm talking primarily to the adults, but I guess I'm talking to everyone. May have had a difficult relationship with your mom, and may even regret that relationship or that certain things didn't turn out in certain ways. The Buddha would tell us that's okay. That even if our mom was not loving and kind, our parent was not loving and kind, that we still got something of value from that, even if it was difficult. And we also have a chance to make good on whatever that transfer was, that teaching, that culture, that personality of our mother, and improve on it. I wanted to say that my mom's relationship with her mom was great. That wasn't a way to pivot into talking about my mom, but my mom's trauma was this. She was born right before the Depression, and in 1933, she was not quite 10, her mom died. And her dad was looking for work. Her dad was an educated man. He was one of the first people in his family to go to college. He went to University of Nebraska, got a degree in animal husbandry, which was an emerging science at the time, highly valuable to ranchers. So he often found a job going from ranch to ranch, but it wasn't always a full-time job or a permanent job. And he dragged his young daughter along without a mother. And he would work during the day, and my mom would often be put up by relatives that weren't always happy during the Depression to find one more kid to worry about. Or other times, her dad would go look for work, and they ended up coming to California, and my mom lived in about 15 different towns in California during the Depression while her dad found a job and then would come back and get her from whatever temporary position she was in. She didn't talk about it that much, but she did talk about a happy time, and that's when he was on a ranch that was also a winery, and there were a lot of Italian families. So this may sound a little familiar to those of you who in recent generations had immigrant parents or grandparents. It was a real community, so they took in this little girl. They had her eat at all the family meals, and I guess Dharma school kids should cover their ears, but the Italians had no problem with serving everybody wine, so my mom got to drink wine as an 11-year-old having delicious Italian food, so that was a happy time for her. But it was also trauma because her dad really wanted a son. And he wasn't the way most dads now are pretty loving and have no problem in expressing their love and kindness to their kids. That wasn't the style back then. So it wasn't a great time for her growing up. The reason I say this is not so you feel sorry for my mom, but can join me in my appreciation for her, because what she did, because she was so lonely as a single daughter, not quite an orphan, but just had one parent, was that she spent her life, once she married and settled down, creating a family with the security and love that she never had. When she and my dad got married, they originally wanted 8 kids. By the time the 4th one came around, they figured maybe 4 was okay. But they were very orderly about it. They had 2 sons, and then they had 2 daughters. So I have an older brother and 2 sisters. Parenthetically, I'm sending out my love to my sister Kathy, who had a minor stroke just yesterday. So Joyce and I are going to go be visiting her. She's doing pretty good. She had a little bit of aphasia when the stroke happened, and she's still having some issues with word recovery. Those of you who have lived with people with strokes know that they're all different. Recovery's all different. But that's just a side note. The main thing is that she raised us in a loving environment. We're all a happy family. My brother and I and my sisters all get along fine. There's no family feuds. When my parents' estate was settled, the estate attorney said, okay, well, who's arguing with whom? And we had to explain that, no, everybody's getting along. There was no argument. And she said that we were one of the few families she had to work with where there wasn't some big issue, some big drama about who inherited what and who was treated unjustly. That's a reflection of the upbringing I benefit from. And I wanted to mention it on Mother's Day to let you know how much I appreciate my mom. And also let you know that I wasn't always a good son. I didn't like being told what to do. As a youngster and as a teenager, uh, my parents' lifestyle didn't appeal to me so much. And I was very boorish to them at a number of times, which I sincerely regret now. Boorish just means that you make your displeasure known a little bit too much. But I have the chance again and again in Buddhism to remember her, to thank her. And the cycle of services we have, not just that there's a Mother's Day service, but there are monthly reminders of the loved ones who passed away in a particular month, our so-called Shotsuki Hoyo services. And by the way, May's Shotsuki Hoyo is coming up next week. We have Eitai Kyo, in which we get to remember and honor our loved ones. And moreover, we get to go ahead and say the Nembutsu in gratitude for everything we've been given. I did just want to say briefly, by the way, that life has always been complicated and complex, so it's not always the case that people grow up in beautiful households that everybody gets along, or even in traditional households, so-called. But the Buddhist theory is that if you're a parent, you have the children you do because of your karma. So the whole point of Buddhism is how you deal with that. That's your life work in this world of samsara, difficulty. Understanding what your karma is, transforming it into wisdom and compassion. But because who your parents are or who your children are is based on karma, Buddhism has no problem. If you have two moms, that's beautiful. That's your karma. If you have two fathers, that's beautiful. That's your karma. So even if you have two fathers, I'm not sure that it applies to anybody here today, but if you have two fathers, you can think kindly of them on Mother's Day, but you get a Father's Day coming up next month especially, just for them. So just like I imposed on the Dharma school students, young and old, it's quite a range of people we have, and I thank you everyone for coming up, to turn around and wave to their parents. The other way we have in Buddhism to wave to our parents, alive or deceased, is to recite the Nembutsu. It's almost as though you get a chance, and I'm speaking to the adults now, even if your parents are gone, or your parents aren't here, or whatever difficulty you may have had in growing up, the trauma that you had to deal with, just like my mom had to deal with trauma. Still say thank you. So when you say Nembutsu, you're also turning around and waving to your mom, especially on Mother's Day. So that's my Mother's Day message for today. So when we recite the Nembutsu right now, just remember part of you is turning around and waving to your mom who came before you. So please put your hands together and Kansho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandab, Samadab, Samadab. Thank you all very much. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, Mr. Teague, for your wonderful Dharma School message. I really enjoyed that. Now, everyone, can you please rise, stand, and join me in the recitation of the Golden Chain on page 90 in your service book. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amita's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Nama Amita Butsu, Nama Butsu, Nama Amita Butsu, Nama Nama. Now Kaytee will lead us in closing meditation.
And you may be seated. May all mothers be happy and well. May no harm or difficulty come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Do we have any announcements? I have an announcement. So for those Dharma School families who are joining us for camping, you should have received an email from me, I think yesterday or the day before, and in that email there was a list to sign up to bring food. If you want to bring food for the group, you will be reimbursed. I also have this envelope. I will put this downstairs in the Dharma School mailbox. So if you want to pay with a check, you could put it in here. And then also, like I said, you will be reimbursed for food. So if you could just put your receipts in an envelope and then stick them in here, we will reimburse you.
Thanks, Lisa. I did mention that next Sunday is Shotsuki Hoyo. Ordinarily, we try and put them at the first of the month, but with our ministerial situation, our reverends still in Kyoto, Japan, we weren't able to do it in May. But next Sunday, Reverend Gibbs from the Pasadena Buddhist Temple, our supervising minister, will be here to conduct our Gotan A service. Gotan A is when we remember Shinran Shonin, the founder of our sect, and he will also be reading the Shotsuki name. So if you have a loved one who passed away in May, this is a especially good time to come, and you're able to go ahead and pay your respects in front of the altar. So thank you very much.
On behalf of the Junior YBA, I'd like to thank those that came to support our Mother's Day breakfast this morning. We had a very great turnout, and it was a really good fundraiser. And I'd like to thank our juniors and our parents who helped cook the food and prep. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day.
Yes, the breakfast was very good. Thank you. Let's see here. And thank you to Kaytee Sumida for ringing the Kansho and officiating the service today. Thank you to our minister's assistant, Bill Teague, for giving the Dharma talk. And thank you to all of you for attending today's service. Wishing all of the mothers a wonderful Mother's Day. Nama Amida Butsu, Nama Amida Butsu, Nama Butsu, Nama. Dharma School students are excused, and also Bill Teague you're excused. Bill Teague will lead us in adult discussion immediately following the service downstairs in the conference room. And then we have some refreshments in the dining room downstairs. Thank you, everyone.